Hello, I hope you guys are well, and if you are new here then welcome and please make yourself at home. My name is Morgan and this channel is storytelling of the disturbing, mysterious and supernatural. So if this kind of content is your thing, then don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for weekly videos. But for now, grab a cup of tea and get cozy as we're about to begin. The world is certainly an interesting place, that's for sure. We're diving into what some would call pretty horrifying and bizarre rituals that are still practiced today around the world. So if you're easy for the queasy, as in if you get queasy easily, then turn away now because some of these aren't for the faint-hearted. Usually Easter for a lot of people is innocent egg hunts and Easter bunnies, but in the small village of Barangay San Pedro Sutid in the Philippines, you'll find it's taken a lot more seriously. With 86% of the population classing themselves as Catholic, these Filipinos are certainly passionate about their religion on this holy day. So much so that actual crucifixions can still be witnessed here. To show commitment to their Lord and to repent for their sins, worshippers are willingly crucified for all to see. And when I say crucified, I am not talking about play acting here. We are talking about a realistic reenactment where real 4-inch nails are pierced through hands and feet. They are then lifted onto a wooden cross and for around 5 minutes while participants are whipped and scored during the ordeal. Now this is said to be a purely voluntary act, with many men and women allowing themselves to be crucified in the belief that they will be absolved from their sins, just as they believe that Jesus died for humanity's sins by causing themselves pain. One particularly well-known Filipino is Ruben NJ, who has 33 years worth of crucifixions under his belt from the 1980s up until 2019. Crucifixions are also held in Payombong, Bulacan, which is known as a pilgrimage area. Many women have also been nailed to the cross, acting on directions from above and claiming mediumship of Christ, whether as Santo Nino or the Black Nazarene. A neighborhood just outside of Cebu City saw another man, Gilbert Bagao, I hope I said that right, crucified for the 17th time, where it took 45 minutes to hammer 6-inch nails into his palms and feet. That definitely gives me a queasy feeling. Our next ritual is just as gory and takes us to the Dani tribe of Papua New Guinea, where this ritual has in fact been banned now by the government. However, it is still believed to take place in secret. Certain cultures believe that a physical representation of emotional pain is essential to the grieving process, and for the Dani tribe, finger cutting was how they expressed this. Finger cutting was specific to the female population of the Dani tribe, where upon the death of a loved one, a woman would cut the top of her finger off during the funeral ceremony. This self-mutilating practice was done to gratify and drive away unwanted spirits of the late relative while also expressing their own pain and suffering for their loved one's death. The practice is performed by first tying a piece of string tightly around the upper half of the finger for around 10 minutes. In this time, the finger becomes numb for a slightly less painful amputation. An axe or stone blade is then used to remove the finger, and the open wound is cauterized to prevent bleeding and infection and to help form new calloused fingers. The removed section of the finger is then dried and either burned to ashes or stored in a special place. In Phuket, Thailand, the annual vegetarian festival involves no skewering of pigs, but skewering of themselves instead. Cheek piercing is an extreme and painful tradition still practiced today, which is said to help in obtaining good health and peace of mind, and to ward off evil spirits and invite another year of prosperity. For the Thai Chinese people of Phuket, the 9-day festival celebrates the abstinence of meat products during the 9th lunar month of the Chinese calendar, and serves as a reminder that the 9 emperor gods rescued them from a fatal illness that ravaged them back in the 19th century. Swords, daggers, and various objects are pierced through the cheek as a form of adornment. Those who have their faces pierced command respect and are seen as strong. Devotees will work themselves up into a trance before the piercing takes place, saying that they don't feel the pain, but feel that they have done their part to respect the gods and goddesses that they worship. The purification ritual is completed by starting from the main temple before heading out in different processions and walking on hot coals in the 24 temples built by their forefathers. American adventurer and journalist William Butler Seabrook wrote in his book Jungle Ways, published in 1931, the world's most detailed written description of the taste of human flesh. Seabrook noted that, in raw form, human meat looks like beef, but slightly less red with pale yellow fat. When roasted, the meat turned greyish, as would lamb or veal, and smelled like cooked beef. As for the taste, Seabrook wrote, it was so nearly like good, fully developed veal that I think no person with an ordinary palate could distinguish it from veal. Well, that's a statement, hey? We're back to Papua New Guinea, and lying to the west of the island is the Indonesian half Western New Guinea and the HORRYFYING tribe. Hope I've said that correctly. The tribe, according to records, has no recorded contact between themselves and the Western world until around the 1970s, when a group of Western scientists took an expedition to the area. Before this, they were unaware of anyone existing aside from themselves. The tribe live in these great tree houses which sit 140 feet high up in the jungle, designed to protect them from rival villagers, and can hold up to 15 people. The tribe is also one of the last known tribes in the world to practice cannibalism. Along with this, witchcraft is a major part of the tribe's belief system, and because of no knowledge about their deadly germs that infest their jungles, fatal illnesses are likely to be blamed on what the HORRYFYING tribe refer to as kakua, which are demons or evil spirits, rather than infectious diseases. Because of their beliefs in evil spirits, it is necessary to kill and eat a person that they believe had been possessed by a demon. Usually, the dying victim will whisper to his relatives the name of the person that he knows is the kakua, and then a kakua hunter will go out and kill this person. After the kill, the body is dismembered and distributed among the tribe members, where they cook the flesh as they would cook a pig. Yummy. The Yanomami tribe of the Amazon also participates in cannibalism in a slightly different way. After the death of a kinsman, the body is wrapped in leaves and placed in the forest. After insects or other animals have consumed the flesh, the bones are collected and cremated. They then prepare a mixture of the bone dust of the dead, and it is mixed with a soup made from bananas and consumed by the whole community after 45 days. The practice is done to symbolize their solidarity with the people that they love, and also ensures that their loved one will live a happy life in the other world. You might think of a baptism, bar mitzvah, or prom when you hear of the term initiation ceremony. However, for the Satari tribe of Brazil, their ceremonies are excruciatingly painful. As part of an initiation rite to become a warrior or leader, boys of the tribe are made to wear gloves filled with ants. But we're not talking about your average ant here. These are bullet ants. Growing up to 1.2 inches in length, their sting currently ranks the highest of all insect stings and has been likened to that of walking over flaming charcoal with a 3-inch nail embedded in your heel. And some even compare it to being shot, which is where it gets its name from. The ants are first collected and rendered unconscious by using a natural sedative of chopped cashew leaves in water. Then around 80 of them are woven into these gloves, which resemble large oven mitts, made of vines or leaves, and are adorned in red feathers from the macaw, which represent war and past conflicts the tribe have experienced, and white feathers from the hawk eagle that represent the courage and resistance of the Satari people. The ant stingers face inwards, and when the ants regain consciousness, an initiator blows smoke at the ants to make them aggressive. The initiator then puts the gloves on and must keep them on for 5 to 10 minutes or longer. They sing and dance, getting immersed in the rhythm to try and alleviate the pain, and only those who can bear the pain stoically are considered fit to be leaders. Because of the ant's venom, the boy's hands and part of the arm are temporarily paralyzed. The pain is said to last up to 18 hours or longer and is accompanied by sickness, vomiting, and uncontrollable shaking. The incredibly painful ritual marks the boy's transition into an adult, and after their first initiation, they can marry and start a family. However, they will be expected to go through this ordeal at least 20 times during their lifetime, each time coming out stronger and more prepared for the fight to defend their culture and protect their forest. Every culture has their own burial rituals for the dead. However, for the Toraja people of Indonesia, They like to keep their deceased a little closer to home, so much so that the dead actually live with them. For the Torajan people, death does not represent an ending, but instead they believe the spirit of the dead will continue to protect their families, and so the living worship them. It is believed these death rites began in 9 AD, and the ritual comes from a story that has been passed down from generation to generation. According to legend, a hunter named Pong Rumasek was roaming amongst the hills of Toraja when he came upon an abandoned corpse lying under a tree. He wrapped the bones in his clothes and buried it. Just after this happened, he was blessed with lifelong luck and wealth. The bodies of those who have recently died are kept at home and preserved by the family to pay for the funeral. The spirits of the dead are believed to linger in the mortal world before the death ceremony is held, when the soul will begin its journey to Puya, the land of the spirits. The longer the deceased stay at home, the more the family can save for an elaborate and expensive ceremony that can cost thousands of dollars. These costly ceremonies can last up to 12 days and include many animal sacrifices. The skin and flesh of the deceased is first preserved from decay by using a coating of formaldehyde and water. The odour is very strong, so the family will store dried plants to mask the smell. A well-preserved body brings good fortune, so the family will go to great lengths to ensure those that have died remain in the best possible shape. It is customary to feed the deceased every day and to keep them bedded in a separate room of the home until the family can afford the funeral. It is also said that delaying the funeral helps with the grieving process. Even after the funeral has taken place, a ritual known as manin, which translates as care for ancestors, traditionally takes place in August when the dead are brought out from their graves. They are removed from their coffins, washed of insects and dirt, given new clothes and brought down to the village. This is a time for family and friends to be reunited with their loved ones, and the younger generation are able to also meet their ancestors. A feast marks the occasion, and friends and family will often pose for photos or take selfies with the deceased bodies. The dead will then be returned to their coffin along with gifts of new watches, jewellery, or glasses until the next ritual takes place about every 2 years. We journey back to the tribal lands of Papua New Guinea, and this time to the traditional rituals of the Chambri tribe, who live on the eastern half of the island along the Sepik River, where ancient myths tell of how crocodiles migrated from the Sepik River onto land to become humans. In this brutal initiation ceremony for young males of the Sepik River, scarification is used to resemble a crocodile's hide, where it symbolises the purging of their mother's blood and the gaining of their own adulthood. These boys will enter a house tamboran, or spirit house, which are important focal points for the tribe's belief system that the dead will manifest as animals. These spirit houses are elaborately decorated with murals and carvings of various creatures including pigs, cassowaries, snakes and eagles. However, it is the crocodile that embodies the symbol of power along this vast waterway. The ritual itself can take an hour or two. The older men will play sacred flutes to soothe the boys in this extremely painful procedure as they are held down while they have their backs, shoulders and upper torsos sliced and cut hundreds of times with sharpened bamboo or razor blades, leaving welts that resemble a crocodile's skin that can leave some boys to pass out. Like many of these ancestral initiation ceremonies, there is no pain relief except for the chewing of medicinal leaves. The boy must show the strength and discipline to deal with the intense pain, proving that he is a man, and for the Shambari, the belief is that by suffering immense pain at a young age will better equip them to deal with pain later in life. When the cuts have been made, the boy lies by the fire where smoke is blown into the wounds. To prevent infection and to sculpt the scars so that they remain raised, the cuts are covered with a tree oil and white river clay. After this, they are adorned in elaborate headdresses and jewellery at a large tribal ceremony, where they become not men but crocodiles. These young men may spend several months inside the spirit house learning life skills from the already initiated men. They will learn and gain knowledge of the village spirits, how to carve, fish, and support their wife and family. Beauty standards for women differ from culture to culture, and it's common for many women around the world to go under extensive procedures to attain their definition of beauty. And it's no different for this Indonesian tribe, where the women endure a very painful dental custom believed to make them more beautiful. This bizarre beauty ritual involves a shaman who will saw and chisel at a young woman's teeth to achieve a sharp, narrow, and pointed shape. For the Mantawayan people of Indonesia, this practice usually takes place when the girl is around 13 years of age, and again symbolizes a transition from childhood to womanhood. The ritual is also supposed to maintain a balance between the body and soul, as well as being more desirable to a potential partner. The practice, as for most of these customs, is done again without any anesthetics or pain relief, other than chewing on a raw green banana afterwards to dull the pain. The woman will then return home and rest for several days, and then return back to the village to celebrate her beauty with the rest of the villagers. Extreme sports are a popular pastime, and for many, bungee jumping is one of those. But for the men of the southern part of Pentecost Island in Vanuatu, they definitely put the E in extreme. Jumping off wooden platforms around 20 to 30 meters or 66 to 98 foot high, these men leap into the air with all but some tree vines wrapped around their ankles and their faith that they won't plummet directly into the ground below. How this ritual came about is to be from the legend of a woman who was dissatisfied with her husband, so she ran away into the forest. Upon her husband following her, she climbed a banyan tree and tied vines around her ankles and jumped and survived. Her husband jumped after her but then died upon impact because he did not tie the vines to his ankles like she did. Silly mistake. Now, originally the women of the island were actually the ones who partook in this extreme activity out of respect to the original story. However, the men were not comfortable seeing their wives in this position, so took the practice for themselves instead. This ritual is performed yearly around April, May or June, and a good dive is supposed to ensure a bountiful harvest, as well as being considered an expression of masculinity and enhancing health and strength. Preparation for the tower construction is done during the dry season and also when the vines have the best elasticity. Men seclude themselves from the women and refrain from sex. Superstition sees that the woman is also not allowed near the tower, otherwise it is believed this could lead to a death of the diver. Building the tower itself can take between 2 to 5 weeks, and the vines are selected by a village elder who will match the jumper's weight to the vines. However, no actual calculations are made, so it's a bit more guesswork. However, this important role is crucial to making sure the vines aren't too long or short, resulting in either hitting the ground or the tower. On the day of the jump, the men have a ritual wash, anoint themselves with coconut oil, and decorate their bodies. The women wear their traditional grass dresses and are bare-breasted and will sing and dance to provide emotional support for the 10 to 20 men of the village who will make the jump. The ideal jump has the jumper landing close to the ground, with the goal being to brush their shoulders against the ground itself, which is why it is imperative for jumpers to keep their heads tucked in and their arms crossed over their chest. However, because the jumper can reach speeds of around 45 miles per hour, the risk of injuries such as a broken neck or concussion are very real. And it's not limited to the men of the village, of course. Young boys around the age of 7 to 8 are allowed to partake in the ritual as a rite of passage to see them into manhood. They die from the lower platform, but the risks are still every bit as real. You might think that this death-defying sport would stack up a lot of fatalities. However, only one recorded death was made back in 1974 when a land diving show was put on for Britain's Queen Elizabeth's visit. Unfortunately, it was the wrong season and the vines were too dry, so snapped, with diver after diver hitting the ground. For our final bizarre ritual of the world, let's start with the passage from the Gospel of Mark, shall we? And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, they shall speak with new tongues, they shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. Our last bizarre ritualistic act takes place in the Pentecostal churches of America and is snake handling that has been part of their religious services since the early 20th century. Statistics in 2013 show that there are still roughly 125 snake handling churches to be found in this part of the world, even though it is illegal in several states. The belief is that snakes are in fact incarnations of demons, so if a church member truly has the Holy Spirit within them, they should be able to handle these poisonous snakes as well as drink actual poison without any harm to themselves. The poison of choice is most commonly strychnine, which I don't know if I've said that correctly, And it is generally used to kill rats, but if ingested by humans, it can cause muscle spasms, cramps, agitation, respiratory failure, seizures, and possibly death. And anyone who gets bitten or is affected by the poison, well, they just didn't have enough faith to start with. An energetic service would see a lot of dancing, singing, preaching, and speaking in tongues. Church members can pick up one of the snakes which are kept behind the pulpit, which range from rattlesnakes to cottonmouths and copperheads, although cobras have also been used, and these members then dance around with them, showing their power over the demons. However, these demons have taken a fair few lives. Over 60 documented cases by snakebite have been made due to this practice, and when incidents do occur, medical help is not made, but instead prayers and faith for healing are chosen instead. This can lead to many handlers having missing fingers or atrophied hands from handling these venomous reptiles. You might think that our slithery friends would jump at the chance of laying their fangs into anyone who touches them. However, animal experts believe that the risk of being bitten is actually significantly reduced because of several things. Firstly, the snakes have been somewhat domesticated and are familiar with humans. And the second thing is that they are most likely mistreated, insufficiently fed, and kept in bad conditions, leaving them in ill health and producing weaker venom and far less likely to strike at the handlers. Despite this, the man believed to be the initiator of this practice, George Went Hensley, actually died from a snakebite in 1955 during a service, so perhaps God just wasn't with him that day. Well, what are your thoughts, guys? Have you heard of any of these rituals before? Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more weekly content. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next video.